So you summoned on the Draco banner, you poured your heart, soul, and life savings into it, and you just weren't able to get the new character, but you did get this weird mushroom lady, and you're wondering, well, is this a decent consolation prize? Can I at least use this 4-star for maybe funny setups, or are they actually pretty legitimately good? And I'm here to tell you that while Locusta might not be the best 4-star in the game, she actually is quite useful and is really strong, depending on if you're going to be doing multi-core setups or you're going into boss fights. This servant has been talked about a lot as like, oh, they're a little bit of a gimmick servant, but realistically, with the advent of people like New Dantes or Bisquion, a lot of these ramp-up damage characters are really kind of establishing themselves as real DPSs, and Locusta's kind of like bringing that style of DPS into the meta, although there are a few things that make her a little less well positioned for doing that than say like New Dantes and Bisquion, but she is still rather strong. So we're going to talk about her in today's video, but as per usual, I put these videos out every single day, so if you enjoy the FGO content, filling up your sub box, make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I will ensure that you are up to date on the goings-on of both the NA and JP side of things. But with that being, I guess, said, and we have all the introductions underway, let's go ahead and start diving into her kit, starting off with her hits. And this is where it kind of starts out a little interesting. Locusta is an assassin rocking a caster deck, meaning she has triple arts cards, which is actually really nice if you want to use her in various art setups with people like Tamamo, your Lady Avalon, Jufu, Castoria, Waver, Reigns, whoever you're going to be bringing to support her. It's going to be nice to have that extra arts card in the deck because functionally you'll always be doing arts chains, meaning 20% NP every single turn, everybody's spamming, you're having a good time. Now her NP gain is a little bit on the lower side, so you are going to want to get some crits if you want to really maximize that NP refund based on her crits alone and her own face cards, but again, thankfully the arts team is pretty well adept at making sure that everybody's firing their NPs. I mean, like at least every other turn. If you've used art setups, you know what I'm talking about. And that's really the most important thing when it comes to her deck. I mean, obviously, they did give her the 5-hit extra attack, which we over here at ZTL Industries love to see, because if you're not aware, the extra attack is a composite card that gen stars NP and does big boy damage. And if you went really hard on this banner and got a lot of Locusta servant coins, I mean, sure, you might want to save some of those for the crit, a pen skill we're going to be getting in about 2 years, or maybe use it for monoloading, or maybe you're incredibly based and want to go ahead and get that extra attack efficiency up by a little bit. I mean, it'll help her out in Brave Chain, so, you know, I'm not saying you have to do it, but, you know, it is an option. Before we dive into her actual proper skills, we do need to look at her passive skills. Now, she has the whole assassin presence concealment thing, so she can gen a bit of extra stars here and there, but we don't really care about that. What we care about is mental pollution poison, because this is going to be giving her a 20% increased debuff success rate on landing poison debuffs on enemies. That is because the whole mechanic of this servant, I don't want to call it a gimmick because it's actually really easy to get done, but their whole mechanic is applying poison to enemies and scaling their damage up depending on how many poison debuffs are on said enemies. And you'll actually see some rather impressive numbers in the background. I did one with just kind of like a standard CE that we'll be getting in the future. It just gives you like a riding power mod, so it's like really good for her in particular. It's kind of like a baby version of the Origin Bullet, where that gives you a power mod against casters for riders. This is one that gives your assassins a power mod for, well, riding servants. I think I just said those backwards, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But then the other one I used Black Grail, and we're able to get a bit more immediate good damage, and her numbers are not bad. So this being here does ensure that you're going to be poisoning a bit more frequently, which means more damage for Locusta, means bigger number, means more dopamine from my brain. So let's start moving into her proper skills, and we'll start doing the whole yapping about what you could do with this character and some of the things that I would recommend you do for them. So going on to their first skill, this is called Poison Compounding A+, which poisons all enemies for 5 turns, gives herself a 30% arts buff, and gives her a 20% NP gain buff. Those two are both for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. Now, this is obviously going to be really good if you want to use her in, say, like a multi-core setup, because she can immediately apply poison to get a little bit of her power mod going if you just need her to clear one enemy in the node. But if you're going to be bringing her to a challenge quest, this is very strong because it effectively means the enemy's always going to have a poison debuff on them, meaning she always has access to her power mod. And then that arts buff is not only increasing her damage, but also raising the NP gain of her arts cards. So even though she has a little bit lower NP gain rate, that will be buffed by this this arts buff and, again, just the actual raw NP generation buff that she's going to be getting on this first skill. Overall, this is just one of those skills that you can kind of click whenever you have it available. Poisoning the enemies is good for her, the arts buff is always going to be good for her, and the NP gain is always going to be good. You can just click this whenever you have it, and it's going to be perfectly fine. Moving into her second skill, Robust Health Poison, which seems a little, I don't know, counterintuitive for that one, but this is going to be more of your CQ-oriented skill. You're not really going to click this if you're ever going to use her in like a 90 plus or plus plus node, because it is strictly going to help you out in any type of boss fight or just a fight where you expect the enemy to actually hit you back, because when you're doing farming nodes, you should just be clearing it without giving the enemy an opportunity to actually hit you. But it's very strong. It gives her a Guts that lasts for 3 turns and revives her with 2000 HP, 500 damage cut for 3 turns, and inverses poison damage to HP recovery. So instead of taking like 1000 damage from poison, she would recover 1000 from that poison, which is really strong. Like, that's actually pretty good for her. Because while that is not going to come up very often, whenever you do find an enemy that does do poison, as it is kind of like one of the 3 main debuff types in the game, it functionally just means I have a free heal because the enemy is trying to like debuff me or something. There's actually some CQs where she can functionally become nigh unkillable because she just stacks so much poison on herself that she just can't take any damage. He just like is regenerating so much HP that unless they just one-shot her or something, they're not going to be able to down her. So very good going into boss fights. Guts is one thing that a lot of the art supports don't offer. They can give you party-wide invincibility, solemn defense, they can lower the enemy's charge, seal their skills, all this type of stuff, but nobody really gives you a Guts. I mean, outside of, I guess, technically like Irisview or Scheherazade if you want to bring them in your team comps, but nobody's going to be doing that. So finally, moving on to her third skill, this is where I think the magic happens. So it's a 20% party gauge, which is already going to be really strong in and of itself, not only giving her a 20% battery, but also saying that, hey, Castoria, here's another 20% battery so you can get to your supremely powerful NP, buff me and buff the party. Hey, Lady Avalon, give me some more stars, and you know what? Raise my max HP so I can heal even more if the boss just happens to be poisoning us. Tamamo, give me more NP and just give me the skill cooldown stuff. You know, all the nutty things that these guys do. She's able to just toss it for not only herself, but everybody there. That's just really good for helping your arts team flow like a well-oiled machine. I mean, that's why Castoria works so well already, because of that huge 30% battery. So getting another 20% in rotation is always going to be good. But then she has a debuff on attack, where she is able to poison the enemy for 3 turns whenever she normal attacks, and then she inflicts poison to herself for 5 turns. So even if the boss doesn't have the poison mechanic, using this skill, she'll poison herself, which then converts into a heal with that second skill, which, again, really strong because that lasts for 5 turns, functionally meaning you should always have a heal going for Locusta for a few thousand HP, and it's not really going to be down because, again, it lasts for 5 turns. The skill it lasts for 6 turns, right? Like, so you only have 1 turn of downtime, worst case scenario. But you could use this on the last turn where, like, you know, you have the on debuff effect, and then you can start looping the HP regeneration, which is really strong. So again, makes her a little hard to take down, and it also kind of helps her out with her power mod, because I guess if we want to cut over to the NP, because I guess I'd like to talk about this before I start getting into command codes and stuff. Her NP inflicts the enemy with poison, which happens before she actually hits them with the NP to get an additional stack, and then for every stack of poison that the enemies have, she does an additional 15% damage up to 10 stacks on them, which is where this can get really interesting, because you can get a free stack on the NP, you can get a free stack for each normal attack you use, and then command codes let you double stack. If you use a command code while having her third skill up, you can slap 2 poison debuffs on them, and that's why people like, say, Dante's or Bisquion are so strong, because you can just load up on these command codes that give you extra debuffs, so you're doing 2 at a time instead of 1 at a time. I mean, even if you do like 1 normal turn, you're still going to be putting like 3 debuffs on the enemy on average. Like, that's still pretty good. But if you can take that 3 to 6 or 7 immediately, I mean, you're accessing some really good raw damage right off the bat. The unfortunate thing is that while there are a plethora of like curse command codes and burn ones, poison only has like 3. So it does make them a little harder to come by, and most importantly, you can't load up all of your skills on them, especially if you're a new player and you've missed out on some of these command codes. Now, they will come back, they usually cycle them back in the Mana Prism shop, but it does make it a little annoying if you're kind of getting into the game a little bit later and don't have access or don't have the ability to purchase some of these command codes for like Mana Prism present or something. But it is something that if you really want to min-max your Locusta, I would highly recommend doing, because as you're seeing in the background, she can do some really good damage. Like, she can hit pretty dang hard. I only felt that I needed to go through 2 different gameplays for this video, but the first one, again, just has like a 30% power mod CE that I believe was a free-to-play one. I think so, because otherwise I can't remember what banner I summoned on this one for, but I'm pretty sure it's a free-to-play CE, so that's just kind of bog standard. But then we also have a normal Black Grail that's not max limit broken, and you can still see she's out there doing really good damage, getting in that like 600k range for basically free, and she also has the ability to buff those poison debuffs, so like, you have a really good shot at landing the debuffs. The only thing that really stops her are enemies that are like debuff immune or can't be poisoned. That's a little bit rough for her, right? Obviously. But I don't want people to think that this character is like, oh, they're like a gimmick, they're a meme because they rely on the poison. Remember how good people like Robin Hood were at the very beginning of the game, because they could consistently apply a power mod to any enemy they were fighting. This is just that, but more modernized. I mean, even down to being able to immediately apply poison. Their NP does poison. They actually have a battery. They still have the NP gain buff plus the arts buff, and they have a really strong survivability skill. So what I would encourage you to do is level up your Locusta, take her to a couple of fights, maybe even use her in like a 90 plus or something, right? Take her out there, maybe run an advanced quest or something, and just try her out. She actually is surprisingly good. She'll do a lot better than what you're expecting from her as kind of this gimmick meme servant. And to be fair, we do have 2 years of foresight for this one, seeing how good these debuff related servants are actually going to be, again with people like New Dantes and Yugioh. But let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this servant. I am a huge fan of them. I think they are really, really fun, because who doesn't love just doing insane damage all over the place, right, for absolutely free? I guess if we're going to talk about our bond CE, it is actually quite good. It gives the entire party power mod against enemies that are poison, which is pretty good. It's like a 20% power mod, while also giving her an additional poison on her stealth, so she just kind of has regeneration innately because of her bond CE. If you're going to take Locusta to be your grand assassin, this is a really good bond CE to give her. So I guess if you're going to be that guy, let me know that in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, leave those thoughts down there. Like the video if you enjoyed or maybe found it informative. Subscribe for that daily FGO content. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.